absolutely unhinged, should we call it that, Shanae, night in the NBA?
Yes, that's a good word.
Not one, not two, not three. We had 4 huge comebacks across the association, and we are going to dive into them all. Hey, welcome inside our Los Angeles studio, wearing possibly the best outfit I have seen on this show.
Whoa!
Aguma K.
Thank you, it's soft.
And it is our pleasure to welcome back head coach of the Las Vegas Aces,
Yay!
Becky Hammond.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us.
Thanks for having me.
We got a lot of hoops.
Always looking good. It's not
It
fair.
is.
Wait till you see her kicks as per usual.
A little later in the show, we will be standing and you will see them. What do you think, Coach? Should we start our show in Minnesota?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's do it. Because Anthony Edwards, we heard him a couple of days ago, Shanae. He said he's 23 years old. He wants to be scoring the basketball. That is what he did, but this was a tough one against the Clippers, who didn't have Kawhi in the second half, minutes restriction.
Should we give that man his flowers too? Norm Powell, way to start the year, the season. He is truly making a case for an all-star selection.
And then Ant saying, yeah, but I can play here too.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to take the physicality. People forget, he's like 6'4", 6'5". I think he's counting the number of points he just earned on that step-back three.
But back and forth we go here. Anthony Edwards kicking it back out. We're going to dive into his assist numbers a little bit more later, but they absolutely needed him not only to be a scorer, but a playmaker here. But the Clippers, they would not go away here, Coach.
I mean, hey, they're not going anywhere. They got something to prove, and I think playing a team like Minnesota, at Minnesota, it's a great time to do some proving, but it was not them that did that.
I mean, Derrick Jones Jr., 7-foot wingspan here, but Anthony Edwards sizing him up, likes what he sees, nails the three-pointer.
Look, we all know this was his point of emphasis entering the season. I want to be a sniper from three, but now we're starting to see his balance, especially when you see double teams. It doesn't matter. When he's made one, he sees the basket is like a hula hoop.
And then you see the crowd into it. He says, I'm going to be here. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be here. But he wasn't done talking there. Take a listen to Anthony Edwards. So Norm Powell finished with 25 points in this one, but Edwards, he finished with the game-high 37 points. The Wolves get the win 108-106. And Ant scored 37 in the win, but look at this. Scoring in the 30s, that's really the sweet spot for Edwards this season. Minnesota improved to 6-1 when he scores in that range. The Wolves are just 12-16 when he does not score in the 30s. Yeah, we're also looking at that 50 ball. We count the over as well. So, Coach, we've seen a lot of different versions of Anthony Edwards this season. What is the balance in what Minnesota needs from him to be a contender here?
Well, just as the numbers play out, I said earlier, I like the 30 to 40 range.
Okay.
When a player starts to get up into that 50, 60 range, you're reliant too much on one player. At the end of the day, the basketball gods, they reward team play. And this is a team game. But also, where's your third option? Where's your third option? They really need a third guy to step up here. You got Nasri coming off the bench, but you need a third guy.
Coach, why are you lying? You coach Asia freaking Wilson, who scored 1,000 points in a season. I've seen them win. I've seen y'all win when they have top-tier performances. But in the case of the Timberwolves, you're absolutely correct. I'm just saying when
she got Chelsea, she got Jackie,
and they all average in the 20s, so it all makes sense.
But I'm saying that third component helps, and it will help him scoring.
Well, you had a third and a fourth.
Right.
So yes, but you're six, you're right. And 25th. But you're right when it comes to the T-Wolves. They need more balance because they haven't had those all-stars on the perimeter to emerge, especially offensively, if we're going to compare to your team.
It's amazing to watch Anthony Edwards, a name that we didn't say Julius Randle in this. He wasn't a closer for this game in the Minnesota Timberwolves. It just really wasn't his night, and so they went with Naz Reid in this one. How can Anthony Edwards maybe get his opponents, or his teammates rather, a little bit more involved?
Yeah, what's really interesting is you look at that 53-point game, he only had this many assists. He only had 2. Then he finishes with, 37, and he has 8 assists.
Yeah.
That is the range that we're talking about. But what I love is that he complained, y'all, I'm seeing double teams, I'm seeing triple teams. Here's a perfect example. He attacks, and there's defense on the baseline and on the sideline. What does he do? He's patient, he probes, and he finds his big man. I love it. Rudy Gobert, this is the best way he can be effective. Sealing the backside, because either you finish at the rim or there's a corner shooter that they have to stumble out to try to close out to. So that's a win-win possession. But then also on this one, he has the vision. He sees 2 guys in front of him. He's strong enough to power through, but instead he generates a wide open shot. So when you look at the numbers, this guy is capable of 50 pieces. He's capable of 40 pieces. But if he averages, as you mentioned, 30 and keeps those numbers of assists at a career high level around 7, 8, 9, the team is going to do better. Lastly, I'll say this. What I love about Ant, I actually heard Juju Watkins talk about this. I don't know if you guys heard that little soundbite where she said, in the first quarter, I survey, and then after that, it's barbecue chicken. It's the same idea for Ant Edwards. He started surveying. He got his teammates going.
Yep.
Then they're harder to defend when everyone is having a better game versus him having to shoulder the entire load. And I love that.
And then he finishes with 8 assists on the night to go along with those 37 points. When you have a young player, though, Becky, who's saying publicly, and this is what we love about Anthony Edwards, is he says exactly what he means. But he says, this isn't fun. This isn't how I want to play. So when you see him then back it up with a performance like this, what do you say to that player?
Well, first of all, 500 isn't fun. There's bigger expectations than that. So losing isn't fun. So you could be getting all the numbers you want. If you're not losing, he's a competitor. He wants to win. I'll say this, the patience that she was talking about, you're going to need that. Like, you're getting those double teams. You got to remain true to the basketball gods, make the correct read. And as a coach, you become very uncomfortable with giving up dunks and layups and wide open threes. Now, his teammates got to come through for him. But when you're giving up those kind of looks, guess what, Ant? Your game gets real easy coming down the stretch because now that willingness, you've weaponized your passing now. And now the sky's the limit. But they got to get that third piece that's up around 20 consistently.
Right, and that's going to be their recipe for success. Let's stick in the West here if we could as we check in on the Phoenix Suns because they had Bradley Beal coming off the bench last night against the Sixers. We should mention no Joel Embiid in this game, Shanae, but when Bradley Beal checked in, he was cooking.
Look, I love the way he approached the game. He earned so much respect. He's already someone that shows up and does his job, but to be able to take this adversity in some ways, coming off the bench for the first time in 8 seasons, look what it sparked. It sparked the rest of the guys to get going.
Kevin Durant with the slam there, and then Devin Booker pulling up for 3, gets that one.
Okay, that's what you want to see. It's not the baskets, it's the high fives, right, Coach? They need to find joy because they were in a little bit of a rut.
Well, yeah, and losing stinks. Nobody likes to lose. Nobody's in a good move. But I love this move for Beal, honestly, and I love it for the Phoenix Suns because now you start to get into a bench. First of all, he outscored Philly's bench by himself.
Right.
And to have that ability coming off that bench when things aren't going right, their bench really came in and changed this game, actually, if you go back and watch it. It was the bench play. Booker struggled a little bit from the floor, but that bench coming in and that energy and that, Grayson Allen, Monte Morris, you got Nurk, you got Beal.
That ball movement.
Yeah, I mean, that 4-5 can compete with other starting fives.
Particularly when then you say, okay, here's Kevin Durant who's able to close it out for you.
Come on.
The amount of times they helped off Kevin down the stretch. What are you doing?
Got
Stay
him.
home.
Phoenix
Do
gets
not
the
let
win
that man shoot.
in this one. But to your point, Coach, the Suns outscored the Sixers 54-7 off the bench. 25 from Bradley Beal, and Phoenix scored its most points off the bench in a victory in 2 seasons. But after the game, Beal, of course, fielded questions about being considered in trade talks for Jimmy Butler. Take a listen.
I need to be addressed because I hold the cards. So until I'm addressed and somebody says something different, then I'm gonna be a Sun.
So when he says he holds the cards, he does mean that literally because he's referencing the fact that he has a no-trade clause in his contract, meaning he needs to sign off on anywhere that he would want to go. But let's focus in on Bradley Beal's 6-man performance here. Becky, you said you really liked it. Shanae, do you think this could be what sparks maybe a turnaround for an otherwise pretty disappointing season for the Suns?
It has to be, honestly, because he does hold the cards, and right now he's showing that he wants to be a contributor to this squad. And one thing that I loved is a lot of pros in this position, they would pout. They're going to the bench. He hasn't done that in 8 seasons. Instead, he was professional, the consummate professional. He came in with a smile on his face and did exactly what he needed to do, be that spark plug. I think that earned him a lot of respect, not just from his teammates to say, hey, you might actually be the key piece that helps us, but also from around the league. You're looking at him like, oh, he can take that type of situation. And again, when I think about this circumstance, why does this kind of make sense? KD, generational player, right? Devin Booker, all-time Sun, right? He's coming into the mix where it's hard to be that guy next to those two, especially from the jump. Now, splitting minutes, maybe tag teaming one-on-one, that rotation actually makes him the guy in maybe secondary minutes, and that's why it worked out so well.
Well, because it hasn't really been working this season for them, having the big 3 on the floor. When they're on the floor together, they've been outscored by 24 points this season, and that just hasn't been a recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to my favorite bench player, Manu Ginobili. There was a point where Pop had to go to him and say, hey, I got to move you to the bench because it's what's best for our team. Manu's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Like, you can get to where you want to go. And at the end of the day, the success is what matters. And more importantly, when you have some of these individual successes and the team success comes along with that, I think you get a great winning recipe. But he kind of always seems the odd man out. They talk about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. When you're Bradley Beal, like, let's just be real, that stings. That stings, especially when you've had as much success as he's had as a player. So I want to echo your sentiments and kudos to him for moving to the bench and doing whatever it takes for his team to win and being a pro and then being asked about trades afterwards. Like, come on, man.
Right. Well, then that's that buy-in, right? It's the buy-in. I mean, I think it's a fair question when you haven't had the chance to ask and then you see the bench move in particular. Yeah. But to have your play be able to back it up like that, that's what's important here. By the way, congratulations to Mike Budenholzer getting his 500th career win in that game. Still to come on our jam-packed show, Becky, you've been coaching when a star wants out, huh?
I have been.
Yeah, so hear her reaction to the latest twist in the Jimmy Butler saga coming up here. Plus, how did a depleted Magic team hand the Knicks their third straight loss? Well, someone on this